With the Passat GTE, Volkswagen has brought out its first mid-size plug-in hybrid model since the Golf GTE. The alternative drive is available for both sedan and station wagon models. In purely electric mode, the car is almost silent and has zero tailpipe emissions. That lets it into all emission-free zones in cities. Our tester Reinhold Deisenhofer praises the GTE's fuel consumption goal of under 2 liters. The hybrid goes up to 50 kilometers on electric power alone. So if your workplace is close and you have an electric outlet there, you can go from Monday to Friday without a drop of petrol, at least in theory. Now we'll see the reality. The GTE comes with its own trim line. The standard features include LED headlights, in terms of safety, the GTE is at the forefront. It's equipped with a number of standard assistance systems to support the driver, like the front assist system that monitors the traffic situation and even brakes in an emergency. As Reinhold sees it, connectivity is an important issue for modern vehicles. A clever watch app enables him to locate the GTE on a giant parking lot and make sure it's locked. He can tell the temperature, start up the air conditioning, and check if the car is charging, so he knows how far he can drive. That may still look like gadgetry for its own sake, but it's a forward-looking element. The developers envision a car that can locate its own charging station. The driver would get out of the car, leaving it to go autonomously to a charging place in the vicinity. But for now, the driver at the wheel is still an indispensable component. Reinhold says the Passat drives like a good gasoline engine car. When the electric motor and the combustion engine are working together, it gets quite a lot of speed. An efficiency-boosting display shows what the driver is doing well or not so well. That includes fuel-wasting moves like pointless acceleration, unnecessary use of the seat heating or air conditioning, or poor defensive driving. The Passat GTE has a system output of 160 kilowatts. VW reports the NEDC consumption is just 1.6 liters of fuel and 12.8 kilowatt-hours of electricity per 100 kilometers. Combined CO2 emissions are just 39 grams per kilometer. In reality, though, the values deviate somewhat from those claims. Our tester says the Passat can go around 1,000 kilometers on a full tank. He calculates an average fuel consumption of 3.5 to 4.5 liters. Under the hood, the classic 1.4-liter turbocharged gasoline engine gets support from an 85 kilowatt electric engine. The rest of the technology is neatly stowed away in the floor. That's left the trunk with lots of space and room for the charging cable in the double boot floor. Reinhold calls the Passat GTE an environmentally friendly and comfortable alternative for short-distance commuters who can make it to work and back purely on electric power. It's only on longer motorway trips that consumption rises when the petrol engine takes over. But sales of hybrids are rising steadily worldwide. At the moment, they lie at 200,000 vehicles a year. That's expected to double in the next 3 years. And in 2022, there should be 3 million hybrids. But with a starting price of 45,000 euros, the GTE is expensive. Possible government subsidies are unlikely to change that. Our car tester Matis Kurat says the name BMW evokes associations of rakish convertibles, sporty coupes, and rear-wheel drive for taking curves. Maybe also luxurious sedans or brawny SUVs. But this, is this a BMW? Matis says he'll check it out. There's only one way to find out. But BMW's first family five-seater will have to work hard to convince our tester. Mata says one rule has been in place for generations. BMW has rear-wheel drive. The 2 Series Active Tour is the first BMW to break with that tradition. It usually comes with front-wheel drive. If desired, you can get it with all-wheel X-Drive. And that not only soothes your conscience and your pride, because who wants a front-wheel drive BMW? The car also handles better. The 2 Series Active Tour with the gasoline-powered engine we're testing is the most powerful of the series. 4 cylinders give 170 kilowatts of power to the all-wheel X-Drive. The 8-speed Steptronic transmission lets you sprint from 0 to 100 in 6.3 seconds, and fuel consumption is only 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Mata says BMW normally orients the whole front seat toward the driver, and to a degree that's true of the 2 Series Active Tour. The GPS monitor in the middle is turned to the driver, as are its controls below it. Otherwise, the front seat is roomy and open.
Ist das jetzt relativ räumlich und offen, dieses Cockpit.
As for the back seat, it's roomy enough too. Plenty of leg room and headroom, but the space can be reduced by moving the backrest forward. That may be less comfortable for adults, but if children are sitting in the back, it won't bother them. And this car was designed with young families in mind. If the children have lots of luggage, then they have to sacrifice legroom.
Ansprechen dieses Auto, und wenn die Kinder viel Gepäck mitnehmen wollen, dann haben sie halt nicht mehr so viel Platz für die Beine.
Matas is pleased at the range of materials used in the 2 Series Active Tour. Foamed plastic over the instrument panel, leather on the dashboard, hardwood trim on the door. He says it looks very stylish. The best thing about the Active Tour is the space it offers. The trunk holds 468 liters and can be expanded to 1,510 liters, more than enough for the kids' toys. The exterior is convincing too, with its compact dimensions and dynamic design. The car's message is clear. This vehicle is designed to accompany active people. Mata says the suspension system is so taut that he notices every little bump in the road, every manhole cover. He says BMW ought to offer adaptive suspension with a softer setting. The version of the 2 Series Active Tour that we tested cost 40,000 euros in Germany, a stiff price for an atypical BMW. The 2 Series Active Tour is clearly a BMW, says Matas. Good craftsmanship, good materials in the interior, the multimedia system, and its controls. Everything is very high quality, but he's not sure that he'd prefer it to its competition. In the meantime, Matas' coffee has gotten cold. Hyundai is replacing the i35. The compact SUV will be renamed Tucson. That's an old acquaintance from 2005. But now it looks more like a Santa Fe. The car was developed mainly in Rüsselsheim, and it's being built in the Hyundai Works in Nosovice, Czech Republic. Prices start at 22,400 euros. VW rolled out its first camper for the German market in 1988. It was based on the T3. Now here comes the California, based on the new T6, in 3 equipment lines. The base model Beach, the mid-range Coast, and the top-of-the-line Ocean. Prices start at €41,430 for the California Beach with a 62-kilowatt diesel engine. There are cars so powerful that only a professional racer should drive them. There are cars so fast that they shouldn't be allowed on public roads. Thank goodness the new Audi R8 V10 Plus isn't one of them, even if it is very fast. The new version is simpler to drive, even for inexperienced drivers.
It's a lot more torsionally stiff, so from a racing driver's point of view, it's 40% stiffer across the chassis. So when you turn, the response is more immediate. The feedback to the driver, you really feel like you're in the car and connected to the car. And the other thing is it's 15% lighter. And so now with 1,555 kilograms of weight, it's a light, little, agile sports car.
And Alan McNish of Scotland knows what he's talking about. He won the 24 Hours of Le Mans race 3 times. Today he has put on his racing overalls to test the R8 V10 on the Portimão circuit in southern Portugal. Ulrich Hockenberg, Audi board member for technical development, calls the V8 10 Plus the company's sportiest vehicle. It has a 10-cylinder engine with 619 horsepower and 560 newton-meters of torque. It accelerates to 103.2 seconds with a high top speed of 330 kilometers an hour. So it's quite a sporty machine, just the thing for customers who like to pull out all the stops on a racetrack. The car's silhouette has been revised only slightly, with slightly sharper contours. The changes in exterior design are quite moderate. Hockenberg says Audi is enthusiastic about this vehicle that was developed together with a real racing car, the R8 LMS, which demonstrated its qualities as victor in the 24-hour race on the Nürburgring. Hockenberg is proud and happy about such a premiere. This animation shows how close the street-legal R8 is to the racing car. The space frames of the cars correspond to 95%. The difference lies in the LMS's roll bar. The 2 engines are also almost identical.
One interesting fact, due to the regulation, this car has less horsepower than the street car. It's got 30 less horsepower by regulations, so we've had to put air restrictors onto it. But when you talk about DNA, and I've been with Audi since 2000, and all of the road cars have the DNA of the racetrack. They're engineering-led. So therefore, we try to make the car the best it can be on the racetrack, and then that technology comes onto the road cars.
The 4-camshaft engine works smoothly with the 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. The 1,555-kilo 2-seater accelerates from 0 to 100 in 3.2 seconds and at 200 kilometers an hour in just 9.9 seconds, thanks to the Quattro 4-wheel drive system. Audi says the R8 V10 consumes 12.3 liters per 100 kilometers. That's 13% less than its predecessor. But according to the board computer, Alan McNish burned about twice that, even away from the racetrack. The R8 is an old-school sports car. Audi's Ulrich Hockenberg says the car is easy to drive and is very, very fast. You don't need much time to get used to it. It handles well from the start. It's a user-friendly car and is easy to control even at its limits and in power drift, and that's what sports car buyers want.
Kunden, die wir haben, die so ein Auto kaufen, halt auf Anhieb wünschen.
The interior and its functional design need some getting used to. The sporty steering wheel has plenty of functions. The virtual instrument panel, familiar from the TT, has been expanded to include a performance mode.
You know, for me, the radio I switch off and I just listen to the V10, the harmony of that on the upshifts and the downshifts, and it gives you that real racing sensation.
And in Germany, you can enjoy that sensation for just 184,700 euros. There are many Opel Adams, and they are almost all different. That is because the possible combinations of colors and other customized elements make for 70,000 unique Adam models. Now there's a new option just made for the summer. The swing-top fabric sunroof gives the Adam Rocks an open-air feeling. Abba Schaefer shows us the swing-top roof of this open-air model. He says the fabric folding roof opens up way behind the driver so that the pleasurable feeling of the Adam is joined by a pleasurable fresh air feeling. A push of a button and 5 seconds later the city car is open to the sky. The triple-layered fabric mixture with a core of neoprene rubber moves back to the C-pillar. Whether that's enough for a real convertible feeling is something everyone has to decide for themselves. The roof is not completely new. It was already available for the Adam Rocks off-road version, but now the normal Adam comes with a swing top in brown or black. Because the roof doesn't retract completely, it doesn't have to be stowed away. That's an advantage because the trunk doesn't offer much room. For tester Ronnie Lefstek, the trunk is definitely too small, although 2 cases of bottled water would probably fit. Another problem is the high loading sill. He had to lift his bags rather high, but once he did, they fit quite well. The roof can be put up or down while driving at speeds up to 140 kilometers per hour. The Adam Open Air we tested was fitted with a 85 kilowatt 1-liter Ecotec turbo engine. It pushes the Adam up to a maximum speed of 195 kilometers per hour on the Autobahn. Ronnie feels that for a mini car, the Adam handles quite well in traffic and offers an especially good turning circle. And for a 3-cylinder turbo, the engine produces a very pleasant performance. For the soft-top version, many different interior configurations are available. The play of colors and contrasts is striking. From the steering wheel to the dashboard, even to the parking brake. The gear shift lever and door panels, everything is done in a 2-tone color scheme. What Ronnie especially likes about the Opel Adam is the many ways to personalize it. That guarantees the buyers a car just the way they want it. But then it might complicate matters when the first owner tries to sell it. As they say, different strokes for different folks. And all the mixing and matching comes at a price. Aside from the extra cost for the color and design options, the soft top adds 3,240 euros to the base price in Germany. The Schloss Bensberg Classics is a comparatively new classic car event. It's only been taking place for 7 years, but it's already advanced to one of Europe's top events. That's thanks in part to the participants. More than 100 lovers of vintage cars take part in the historic rally through the hilly countryside near Cologne. Classic cars worth millions aren't the only eye-catchers here. This 1959 BMW 600 easily captured the hearts of the onlookers. Its driver, engineer Ernst Hütter, tells us the story of the microcar. He was in France with a friend traveling with 10-horsepower Heinkel Cabine microcars and decided to improve on the design with a door in the front and a bit more power. He's proud that the only two-cylinder car in the field won third place 2 years ago. He's hoping to repeat that this year, but says it'll depend on his co-driver. He says it's great here. In many of the rallies, you have to constantly watch your location. Well, here, he'll be able to get a glimpse of the landscape. Afterwards, the cars will be presented at a high-caliber concours d'élégance. But some of the participants have found the rally quite exhausting. She says she felt a lot of pressure because her husband takes the whole thing quite seriously. She herself drives for fun, while he is more ambitious, but she says they're happy to be here. Frank Orschler tells us about their car. The Opel Admiral was built in 1938 with a body by Glaser. He says the special thing about this model is that the top is completely retractable compared to Beetle tops with their giant bulge. He says the car was discovered as a towing vehicle in Montevideo. There was a crane sticking out of the back axis. After much searching, he was able to find an original car radio from 1938.
Das war schon eine Besonderheit. Also das ist eben 38er Technik, da hat man damals wahrscheinlich
This 1953 Goliath Sport is the first series vehicle with direct fuel injection. The two-cylinder engine in this elegant sporty coupe only reaches 32 horsepower. But since the car only weighs 830 kilograms, it gets a dynamic 120 kilometers per hour. There are only 2 of them left today. Each of these vehicles has a special atmosphere and a special story that the owners are happy to tell. A Porsche 853 from 1935. This convertible was a sporty addition to Horsch's palette of clunky upper-class saloon cars. Gottfried Scholz tells us how he commissioned an English vintage car dealer to find a model like this. The man didn't even know the Horsch brand existed. He asked, "Horsch? Horsch? How do you spell it?" And then he located it in a barn in Ohio. An American general had brought it to the U.S. after World War II and driven it around until 1953.
Mitgenommen worden in die USA und ist da noch bis 1953 gefahren worden.
The Porsche 853 was considered one of the most beautiful cars of its time. After 7 years of work, it's been restored to its former glory. It gets reactions very different from the BMW 600. Ernst Hütter says a woman told him how she and her husband drove to Italy on their honeymoon in this car 56 years ago. He says it's practical for old people to reawaken youthful memories. Which may explain why its drivers get the jury's special prize for the most original vehicle at this year's Schloss Bensberg Classics.
Applaus für diesen wunderschönen BMW.